Alrighty, let's start her up. Yo. Welcome to the Living for a Living podcast.
Living for a living, baby. How you doing?
Oh, and I'm a little bit late. I know I've been saying that I want to do these solo ones on a weekly basis, but I just didn't. Between where I'm doing it right now, I'm laying in my own bed doing this one, which actually it's kind of comfy. I kind of like it. But I think I'm 2 weeks since I did my last one about that. Yeah, 2 weeks exactly. And a lot's kind of gone on in those 2 weeks, I guess. Like I was talking about last time, we are allowed here in Barcelona to go on walks and exercise out in public. For those that don't know, Barcelona was, one of the hardest hit spots for everything going on. And again, I'm not going to try and talk too much about it. Although there are some interesting things coming up as of yesterday that I got to touch on just to make myself feel better. And, but yeah, we were on strict lockdown for like 7 weeks. Couldn't leave the crib unless you were going to grocery stores, pharmacy, everything was shut down, cops out everywhere, asking you where you're going, ticketing people if it was the wrong answer, et cetera, et cetera. Now we are currently allowed to go out and exercise between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. or 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. And so, I mean, it's mad, you go out at those times and it's just a free for all, especially if you go down near the beach. I mean, there's more people than normal tourist life, or actually probably not that much, but it's after being on that strict a lockdown for that long, it feels like there's just so many people out, which is, I mean, fine with me. I think we're going to be all right. I think we're going to make it through this. But the one funny thing is you're only technically allowed to be outside if you're on a walk or exercising. And so, the Spanish government came out and said on one day that you're allowed to lay on the beach, social distanced and suntan, and then literally later, like 5 hours later in that same day, they said, no, we changed our mind. We're not going to allow that. And so like sunbathing isn't allowed on the beach right now, but it's fucking hilarious to see people, hustling the rules basically. And so people will be laid out on their towel or whatever, and then the cops kind of patrol walking up and down the coast or the beach or whatever. And people lay on the towel, and as soon as they see the cop, in the distance, all of a sudden everyone starts hitting a little workout. They're getting the beach workout, of course, in their bathing suits with a towel and a beer and a cigarette next to them, because that's how you work out. Duh. But I mean, like I said, I don't care. I'm down there actually working out. I enjoy doing my rebar, doing my yoga, doing my handstands at the beach, and it just gives me extra entertainment to just watch the masses. And don't get me wrong, there are some other people down there jogging and actually working out, but a far majority of people are just there chilling and getting in the occasional sit, the police sit up, I like to call it, or maybe a plank. Or I think after like the first or second day, they made it so you can't just be stretching. It has to actually be some kind of workout, because at first the cops would walk by and people would just be like, oh, touch my toes. And yeah, so no, man, that's been funny. But like I said, even though it's not normal life at all, we're slowly getting step by step there. I'm hitting the beach each morning doing my thing, and then at nights I've been going and shooting hoops at the park, which technically isn't allowed, and they're kind of taped off or whatever. But the other night I was at my local park, and there's 3 hoops and 3 different games of 3-on-3 going on, and nobody's really caring, at this point. And I'm super impressed by my basketball skills, to be honest, because I haven't shot a hoop in over a year, or at least 8 months since I've been here, and I can't even remember the last time I did. And I played a little pickup that first day back, and I was our team leader. We only went 1 and 2, but hit a couple threes, a couple pull-ups. I'm a mid-range kind of guy, and I was our tallest guy, so I had to defend their post player, and that didn't work out super great. But after the game, this one older dude he said he was from New York, who's been living in Barcelona for like 10 years, was like, "Damn, bro, you're a shooter." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, but I mean, you know that. You've been told that before." And I just had to I wanted to play it cool, but I also wanted to, I told him, I was like, "Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it." And he's like, "Yeah, where do you normally play? Down by the cemetery, or where do you play at?" And I was like, "Dude, to be honest, this is the first time I played in Barcelona since I moved here like eight months ago or so." And he kind of looked at me like I was lying, and just to be straight up, that felt amazing, even though I wasn't lying. And so, yeah, that's kind of been my routine. It's starting to get hot here in Barcelona. It's like 80 plus, 85 these last few days, and I need some stores to open back up so I can go buy a fan so I don't melt at night, because my girl's getting tired of me. Like, we're not cuddling at night. Like, there is no, I'm too hot. Like, I'm hot right now doing this, just being in here by myself. Like, there's no cuddling going on unless we have a fan or an ice cube or I don't know. So I think for us here in Spain, or in Barcelona at least, tomorrow or this next upcoming week, it's Saturday today. I think Monday some more stores are opening up. So like I said, step by step, we're getting back to normal life. And yeah, I mean, I know in the States, I've been talking to some friends back home, family back home, and kind of the mixed emotions of people ready to get on with their lives, the other ones who want to follow exactly what they're being told to the T. And I just think it's a little bit comical with the news coming out yesterday, or I think yesterday, yeah. I'm 9 hours ahead of the West Coast, so whether it's yesterday or today, it kind of messes up my head. Where good old Fauci is saying now that things need to open up soon, or else some irreversible, I'm going to go with that word, irreversible damages will be done. And a week before that, he was saying, if we don't stay locked down long enough, then I don't know how many people will die. But that's the fear tactic that's been used this whole time, of just death, death, death. And don't get me wrong, I know people are dying, and I know this is serious, but it's just, and I apologize if I'm coming off however I'm coming off if you don't like it, but it's just comical to me that first masks don't do anything, now everyone needs to wear a mask, oh, we can't reopen, now we need to reopen. It's just all this confusion. And I mean, to me, it's done by design, because if we're constantly confused about what's going on, we can't formulate a plan or even have an idea of what's, we're just waiting for the next piece of news. And then if they spring something else new on us, it's not a surprise, because everything's been a surprise so far. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just been, like I said, I'm coming off a little bit, like, I've felt like this whole thing was an overreaction from the beginning. Just my own personal feelings based on statistics and my feelings. And, the amount of, well, not a ton, but I've had, a few like close friends kind of come at me sideways for an Instagram story here and there, talking about how I'm feeling towards the subject, that are either condescending in a way towards my intelligence, or condescending in a way towards like my compassion for other human beings. And so, which, like I said, I feel bad if you've been affected by this. Like, I'm not saying it's not a real thing, but for it to be taken to the measure that it's been taken just seems a little wild to me. And so it's taken like everything in my body not to send like the Fauci report that things need to open soon or else irreparable damage will be done, to the few people that have like unfollowed me and, that, like I said, some close friends. But it is what it is, man. Obviously it bothered me a little bit as I'm talking about it here, but at the same time, I'm not going to say I told you so, and one last thing about the current situation that I've really came to realize that we can't ignore is this situation, COVID, has become an incredible dividing factor amongst us. And I'm guilty of this myself because, like I said, as you could see, just right there, me saying, like, I kind of liked that I got to say I told you so. And, in the beginning, I kind of felt a certain way towards the people that were taking it really seriously because I didn't think it was super end of the world thing that needed the measures to be taken that were being taken. But then I caught myself that, it's the division dragon, as one of my homies told me, we were talking about it the other day, is, in the past, normally the things they use to divide us are, things we can see very easily. Race, ethnicity, those are kind of very similar. I know politics, religion, gender, sexual orientation, age, class. I think that's the main ones, those are normally the ones. They love the race, to use race because that's the easiest one for us to see visibly, right? Religion also, because people feel very emotional about it. Now with sexual orientation and gender roles and those kind of things, all of these things, are these dividing factors are emotionally driven. There's a reason for that. But this thing, COVID, has created a new class of division. And ever since I've realized this, maybe a couple weeks ago or a week, since my last one, I've really taken a step back, and like I've said, is whatever you want to do and whatever you want to think, like, do you. I promise, like, I'm cool with it. Do you. Just have an understanding of where it's coming from. And if you can articulate why and how you got to that point, then I'm happy and cool with it. And I'm not the boss you need to explain yourself to. I'm just saying. No, but this thing has created another class or another sector of division. And first it's on morality. And then the second is kind of like on perceived intelligence. And what I mean by that is, myself, I'll speak solely on myself, is where I didn't think it was a huge deal. I thought we were overreacting. And so for everybody who thought that, oh, this is the end of the world, we need all the masks, we need this, we need that, who are listening to all the mainstream media about everything, listening to, the government, listening to whatever, who was feeling differently than I was feeling. To me, I was looking down on them because in my, calling them sheep, because in my mind, their perceived intelligence wasn't as high as mine. And everyone has different reasons to believe what they want to believe. And so that's kind of and then on the flip side is for all the people who were taking it very seriously, they would look at the people who don't take it seriously, who aren't believing in, every mainstream media report or whatever. They're looking at them as like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. oh, you believe we didn't land on the moon too, huh? And the 5G and da 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 da. And so from both sides in the perceived intelligence, both sides were looking down on each other. And then from the morality side of things was, if you stayed at home and didn't go out, you were a moral person who cared about everybody else. But if you went out and didn't wear a mask or didn't want to wear a mask or whatever, then according to these other people, the people who think they're being moral, is you're immoral and you don't care about, if you're not taking it seriously, you don't care about people, and you're a bad person because you want people to die, and it's like, what? No, that's not how it is at all. Like I said, everyone has their own reasons to believe what they want to believe and feel how they want to feel. And like I said, it created another sector of division because, as I mentioned, I've had some close friends who, if you go through the 8 subcategories that I just mentioned before of race, politics, religion, yada, 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 we agree on every single one of those things, or are very close to agreeing. But on this issue, we don't. And now we're divided. And I know it's probably happened in everyone's family or at school, everywhere, where it's taken people in every single demographic that you can measure that should be the same, and it's made them different and have a thing to argue about and to divide about. And so that just came up, through my mind, and ever since then I've been trying to, and obviously I'm not perfect, but everything I'm aiming at, I just want people to understand that if we are constantly arguing and we are constantly divided, it's only hurting all of us. There's nothing good will come out of constant arguing and division. The united we stand, divided we fall, or whatever the hell that thing is like, that is so true. And, nowadays we've been conditioned by the media, by whatever, to make our beliefs be so extreme, to be so polar, that it's either black or white. It's either if you, this is just a random thing that popped into my head, if you're against illegal immigrants, it means you hate all immigrants. It gives these like if and then statements into every factor. If you, I'm hitting all the hot topic. If you think that abortion should be illegal, then it means that you don't think women should have any rights. And if, and vice versa for all of these things. I'm just throwing random examples out there. And the reality is all of us fall way more into the middle, into the gray area. And that's really what life is it's all in the gray area. It's not black or white. It's not this or that. You could think that this situation is serious, but then also think that we're overreacting. You see what I'm saying? And so, I don't know. It's just something that's been on my mind, what I'm trying to push, and I wanted to get it out there because, man, I want us to get along. I want us to improve. I want things to go in the positive direction. And I think I'm not alone. I think everybody wants that for the most part. And so let's try. My challenge for you this week, one time a day, I don't know, however you got to do it, one time this week. Let's start there. think about the opposition's perspective and why they'd think that way and how they'd get there in a situation where maybe you'd agree with them. I don't know. Try that. I mean, is it going to kill you? Like, what's it going to hurt? Right? All right. I'll stop on that, and we'll move on. If you see here, I'm kind of setting up moving forward with the podcast, at least with the solo podcast. I want to do this thing where I'm kind of sitting right here on the side, and then I have like this space empty, so I can, when I'm editing and going through, I can either put like a little picture there or another video there, or something that goes along with what I'm saying, so it's like more appealing to watch. And I kind of did that on the last one also, and kind of makes editing a little bit more fun, so I can look for little instances where I can, add a little bit extra than just my face and my voice, which I'm sure can get tiring eventually. I get tired of it. So I'm sure you do too. But yeah, let's see. What else is going on? As my man Theo Vaughn would say, if you ask me what I've been up to, I've been up to nothing.
The strangest thing you can ask someone right now is, what are you up to? Or what have you been up to? Have you had someone ask you that yet? Hey man, what are you up to? What? What am I up to? Nothing. I'm up to nothing. There's nothing to do. Hey man, what you been doing? Nothing. Hey buddy, have you? No, nothing. Do you understand?
Just edit in. Now, like I said, I'm hitting the beach, taking the bike around the block a couple times. But other than that, it's a whole lot of nada. But right now, I'm currently do have some good news waiting for, or have a Skype meeting Monday, with a team in Czech Republic. They're scheduled to start their season midway through August and then go up until the end of October. So I'm hoping that can go well, so I can continue to play a little more ball this year in 2020, because with the Spanish season here, we were kind of just getting cooking. We were 5 games in. No, 6. We were 4-2. Yeah. We were 6 games in. No. I'm sorry. We were only 5 games in. We were 3-2. And we were just at that point where the team was starting to click. Offense was starting to click. We had brought in a new import receiver, and he also played DB, Caden, who me and him were getting a little bit of a connection going. And like I said, things were just starting to roll. And within 3 days, practicing on a Wednesday, that Sunday, season's canceled. And so, like I said, I wanna throw the ball around. And then these past couple days, been working out with some homies down by the beach, throwing the ball around. And I'm telling you, the arm's feeling good. I'm feeling ready to rock. And so I'm just thinking good thoughts with all of that. What else do I want to talk about? I guess this has been one of the things on my mind lately that I think somebody out there could benefit from hearing, and I benefit from just putting it out there. Like I've said before, when I do these solo podcasts, in a way, it's almost like therapy, just to get it out of there, get it out of my own head, get it out into words. But I posted something on Instagram the other day that was saying how, most people are like scared of themselves and scared to actually feel their feelings or something along those lines. I'll put it right there. And my little caption on that said, that pretty much that reasoning, that people being uncomfortable with themselves or not wanting to feel certain emotions, was the reason I'd smoked weed for most of my entire life. Since I was 15, I'm 29 right now, if you don't know. Since I was like 15 or 16-ish, I'd pretty much smoked, so wait, let me do the math here. 16, I'm 29, so that's 13 years. I'd say of those 13 years, I'd probably smoked like every day for like 10 of them. And of those 10 years of like everyday use, it's almost like every day, all day for a lot of them. And I was still super functioning, scholarship athlete, dean's list student, graduated college, did all of that stuff, worked jobs, did my own thing, totally able to get by. It's just I wasn't ever doing anything extra. And so over this last, I'd say year or so, ever since I did acid for the first time last March, which, speaking like a hippie, like really opened my eyes to certain things and how I've been living and how I really feel about certain things and all of that. I've really tried to like taper down my use, and I truly think, I'm a much more productive person when I'm not smoking weed. A big thing with this podcast and with the vlogs and everything I was doing is like, I've always wanted to really do that stuff. But if I checked off, going to the gym, doing homework and practice, it was like the next step after that was to get high. And then once I was high, like, I don't really want to edit. I don't really want to film. I don't really want to do whatever, because then I'm kind of in my own world, or like in my own head, and kind of extra self-conscious in a way. And so anyway, I shared that, and I had one of my good buddies message me saying, it's interesting you say that, because I feel the exact opposite about my weed consumption. He said, I've always been an angry person and always kind of like quick to react. And he said that like by smoking weed, he's been able to kind of take a step back and like get in touch with his feelings more. And then also like it allowed him to realize like what he really should respond to and what he really should get mad at. And then I wasn't really sure how when he framed what he said, to me it sounded like he'd only been smoking recently. And so I just asked him, what's your usage like? I just wanted to know, and he said, no, I've been pretty much the exact same thing as me. Like, we didn't get into month by month comparisons, but very, very similar. And so I just thought that was super interesting, because up until that point, I've talked to friends here and there about it, but never on like that kind of real of a basis. And like to get that, like, it's like an understanding, but then also to know that, everything affects everybody slightly differently, whether it's drugs or alcohol or even like food and diet, is like whatever works for me from a diet standpoint might not work for you, or might not. We're all the same, yet we're all different. And so it was cool for me, and it was definitely like something I'll remember moving forward. And I think it's important to be aware of. And I don't know if I said this, but it was nice to be able to relate with someone on that level, and we kind of went back and forth, and I basically, like, I just told him, I was like, yeah, basically I try not to buy it, nowadays. Like, I'll still smoke occasionally, but I just try not to buy it, because if I buy it and I have it, like, it's just been such a habit in my life that if I have it and it's the end of the night and I got all my shit done, like, I'm gonna smoke it. Or even if I wake up and, I'm like, I'll just do a little one, and then start. It's just, I don't know if that's the little, like, addict in me, and to be fair, I don't think that weed is a physically addicting thing whatsoever. I think for me, like I said, it's just a habit. It's just, I'll be honest, I like the process of rolling a joint. From breaking the weed down to getting the paper out, rolling up the crutch. You know how it goes. If you know, you know. And I enjoy that. And so it's more so the actual habit of doing that than the high that I get or whatever. And then in times of boredom, it just becomes something to do, And so me and my buddy who I was talking to laughed, and we're kind of being inspirational back and forth to each other, and he said something along the lines of, like, you're the only person that can make yourself grow. No one else is going to make you grow. And, other people can influence you. And I thought that was an important thing to hear. And I really, like, took that to heart. And he says, you're the only person who can make yourself grow. And then in parentheses, he says, but I also did roll a joint first thing this morning. And so, just that, like, realness factor was super cool. And like I said, I think that's like an important thing to get out there, because I've never heard anybody talk about stuff or weed or whatever in this way. And I wish when I was younger or whatever, like, I could have heard a conversation like this. And so that's kind of part of the reason I share this, is I think it's beneficial for me. And also, I know a lot of my homies throughout life, looking back, one common thing we always shared was that we liked smoking weed, for the most part. And I know that at certain times, I think weed can be an incredibly positive thing for people, because it gives you that shift in perspective. My problem, and I think a lot of people's problems with it, is when you're using it all day, every day, is that shift in perspective becomes your only perspective. Is if you're sober all the time, I'm sitting here, and then I shift a little bit there, like, seeing it from this angle can help. But then I go back here, and now I know, okay, but from this angle, it looks this way. And I know that because I'm looking at it from two angles. But if I'm only looking at it from here, then you don't see it exactly straight on for how it is. And so for me, my own personal thing is I'll end up being way more, like, self-conscious when I'm high, or, like, more self-critical, I should say. And I'll watch something I've created, or a podcast, or, like, whatever, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. Or, oh, I sound so stupid. Or, like, nobody wants to watch this. It's more of a negative thing from a creative side when it's every day, all day. It's great to me, I think, if it's just here and there, because I see it from this angle and I'm like, ooh, maybe I should change that little music in that song, in that spot doesn't work. Or maybe I shouldn't say that in the podcast, but maybe I should, but maybe I shouldn't. It's just that small shift. But if you're only seeing it from one way or another, because I think alcohol also gives you a change in perspective. You know, I think alcohol, instead of maybe being here, you're kind of looking at it there. I think you get what I mean. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of the main stuff I wanted to talk about. Not like I didn't go into this with any plan. But I'd be curious to hear what anybody else thinks about anything I've said here. I would like for my YouTube to be kind of like a community that starts. And I try my best to answer everybody in the comments, whether it's just saying thank you or just saying whatever. But I would love to, I've gotten a few comments on whether it be the last podcast or a vlog or whatever, where someone asks a question or someone gives a piece of advice or whatever it may be, that like getting those things are really cool. And I'd like to maybe kind of make this into some kind of a community. And so if you have thoughts on anything that I've said, whether it be agreeing or disagreeing, I'd love to hear them. Because I think at the end of the day, the only way we can grow as a collective group is to listen and understand each other, you know, like I've said. So, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it's right time. So, again, I'm going to try my best to make this a weekly thing. Now that I got this kind of set up here, although it's so hot in here right now, but in the other room in our spot, I'm kind of distracting to my girl and the roommate, and you'd have to walk in front of the camera to go to the bathroom, and so it just, here I can at least shut the door and it's all good. So I think now that I've done this once and I got that first step going, this should be able to be a weekly thing. So it's Saturday. I'll see you next Saturday. I'll release this tomorrow on Sunday. I'll see you next Sunday. All right. As always, really appreciate everybody for can't even talk. For subscribing, for liking, for commenting, for following, for listening, supporting. However you're doing that, appreciate y'all. Alrighty. Much love.
Tell me, baby.
Yeah.
What's that story? Cause I've been thinking about you lately.
Yeah, come on.
Tell me, darling. What else? You're a star girl. How the fuck do you not know the deal?
What else?
I've been thinking about you lately. And
What
it's
else?
got me going crazy.
What else?
Playing for you, baby.
What else?
Listen up. Got me thinking about you, baby. And it's happening all the time. So I'm playing for you, darling. Now listen up.
Listen up.